Hey everyone, and welcome to my Bookish Books reading vlog. So this reading vlog is going to be dedicated to reading books where the characters inside of these books have some sort of book magic. So in terms of Pages & Co, which is the first book I'm going to be reading, Tilly wakes up one day to find that her favourite characters from her favourite books are inside her grandparents' bookshop, whereas with Inkheart, the main character's dad can read like the characters from the books he reads into our world or send other characters inside the book and things like this, and it's sort of like that kind of adventure, and I'm really excited to read both of these. Tilly and the Book Wanderers has been calling to me for a really long time, and I admittedly forgot that I owned Inkheart until I recently rediscovered it after a bit of a clear out in some of the other bookshelves in the house that I don't look at that often. So I thought this would be a really fun reading vlog as well, because obviously it's following the same kind of idea of having power over books, that kind of thing, and I think that's a really interesting concept. So I'm going to be reading both of these and telling you what I think about them. I'm starting with Pages & Co because that's the one that's on my TBR at the moment, and then if I get time I will be reading Inkheart, but if not, I will be leaving it for maybe November or something like this, and you'll see whenever this video goes up, essentially. But that is the plan. I'm starting with Pages & Co and then going into Inkheart. So let's start with Pages & Co and see what I think. So I'm now 3 chapters into Pages & Co and I'm really liking this so far. I was worried that this was going to be a little bit young for me in terms of my adult logic brain getting in the way. I'll leave a link up above to my video where I talk about this more in terms of having a stupid adult logic brain kind of thing, where it just gets in the way of my enjoyment of books that are slightly on the younger end of middle grade. But I do really like this so far. I'm only 2 chapters in, I'm only on page 30, but so far I'm really liking the idea of the Pages & Co bookshop. I like Tilly as a main character. I think she's very fun and relatable in her way. I'm very interested to know what the whole thing with like the woman that her grandmother was talking to who suddenly disappeared. I think it's going to turn out that her entire family have this magic that they can maybe read characters out of books and things like this, or bring them to life. And I'm also very interested to find out what happened to Tilly's mother. So it's going well. I'm also really liking the illustrations in here as well, and there's a full page one here that I really like, and I just really want Pages & Co to be a real shop already, because I'm like, that sounds like heaven. Like 5 stories of books with like a cafe and all the rest of it. It sounds wonderful. So yeah, really good start so far. Very excited to see where this is going to go. I have a theory that possibly the baker Jack is going to be from a book himself. I don't know. But I'm getting that vibe at the moment that maybe a lot of the characters that we meet that aren't Tilly's family are from books, but we'll see. But so far, really good start. Cannot wait to carry on. So I'm on chapter 3, I still think. Yeah, I'm still on chapter 3. I'm at the end of chapter 3. And Tilly's talking about the fact that she used to read a story with her granddad before she went to bed every night. And it says, together they had gone sailing with the swallows and Amazons, which is obviously a book, met the witches of Miss Cackle's Academy. I can't remember that one. That may be a reference, I don't know. And then it said, and visited worlds balanced on the backs of elephants. That's Discworld. That has to be Discworld. I can't think of any other that would be balancing on the back of elephants. Surely that's the Discworld. Is that a Discworld reference? I didn't know there was going to be a Discworld reference in this. I mean, that makes sense because it's such a famous book of, like, series of books. And there is obviously the Tiffany A. King stuff, but I didn't think this was going to reference Discworld, and I'm counting that as a Discworld reference. If it's not, I don't know what other book it could be, because that's the only book I can really think of about a world that's balanced on the backs of elephants. Interesting. Very interesting. I like this author's taste in books. I like this author's taste in books. So I'm now 10 chapters in, and this is really intriguing. First of all, this is a really quick read. I've literally been reading, well, I'm doing about a page a minute at the moment, slightly over, but I'm really liking this so far. I really like how we've getting this mystery with like Alice and Anne turning up. You've also had mentions of Sherlock Holmes, which I very much appreciate because I am a bit of a Sherlock Holmes fan thanks to BBC Sherlock. There's also been a possible mention of Poirot. I'm pretty sure it was Poirot, and like a couple of others have turned up, maybe Lizzie Bennet as well by the sounds of it. And then we've just had Enoch turn up, Enoch Chalk, and he was talking to her granddad about disturbances, and I'm like, interesting. I'm very, very intrigued. This is very, very intriguing and very well written. I'm really liking this. Why did it take me so long to get to this? I don't know. I should have read it earlier. I really should have read this earlier, because I'm like this far in and I'm loving it. I am absolutely loving it. I'm really loving everybody's names in this as well. I think it's really clever how Tilly's last name is Pages, and obviously she is a book wanderer or whatever it is. I'm on to chapter 18, which I think is probably the explanation bit, considering they've just said, I suppose we should start at the beginning. But anyway, I really like that her last name is Pages, because obviously she's a bookish person. You've got Oscar, whose last name is Rue, which is something to do with baking, and his mum's a baker. And then you've got Amelia Whisper, who is the librarian, and obviously you're meant to whisper and be quiet in a library. I really love it when they do clever naming things like this. It always really, really amuses me whenever that happens, and it is deeply amusing me reading this now and being like, that's why you're called that, and things like this. I'm really liking that. Also, I'm like here now, which is like halfway through, I think. This is 384 pages and I'm on page 177, so I am not maybe halfway. Am I halfway? I'm nearly halfway, and I've only been reading this for a day. I am flying through this and I am absolutely loving it, and I'm regretting not reading this sooner and not having the sequels to hand either. Really wish I had the sequels as well, but that's for Christmas, I'm guessing, or whenever I fancy buying some more books, which is probably going to be soon. But I'm really liking this. I mean, obviously we haven't gotten to any of the explanation as to like how the magic works and all the rest of it, but I am loving like the characters of this, the storyline, the mystery of it. This is what I call a proper good old-fashioned fun middle grade, and I am really, really liking it. And I think Inkheart is going to have to go some to live up to the Book Wanderers, but we'll see. Hopefully it will. I reckon it will. It's like written by Cornelia Funke, who does a lot of books, and obviously she's a really famous author, so I'm sure she will. But this is setting one hell of a standard. So I actually left the house last night, but I managed to bring my book with me, and I managed to read a bit more of this. I'm now up to page 267, and I really like the explanation as to how book wandering happens and like some of the rules there. I really liked Amelia Whisper as well. And I don't know if I can trust Tilly's best friend Oscar, because he feels a little bit off with how they were told, do not go into any of the books, we'll be back in a minute, we've got to sort out this thing. And Oscar's first instinct was to go find Treasure Island and go into Treasure Island, and he was like, oh yeah, I just wanted to see the boat and things like this, but I'm just like, I don't know if I can trust you. And I feel like there may be a plot twist with Chalk, and it's going to turn out that Chalk's a good guy, but he's being set up to be a bad guy. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe that's what's going to happen as like a big plot twist. I did also like the plot twist about who Tilly's father was. I thought that was very, very interesting. I do think though that there is going to be like a plot twist as well as to where her mother is, or maybe that's going to continue on throughout the series. I don't know. But I have a lot of theories and I'm probably overthinking them, but I'm still really liking this one. I've also got to say as well, I like how this book does like changes, because this is when Tilly's like in the M papers and everything's gone black, so the page went black and stuff like this. I also like when it changes the font. Can I find any bit where like they change bits down here, so then it starts doing this business with it all sort of dropping off to illustrate what's going on. There's also, it changes like font at points when talking about magic, and like it changes like here, this bit here, so all the fonts all over the place as well and stuff like this. I think it adds to the magic of this book. I really like how they've done that. I do hope there is a version for dyslexics as well, because I know that's probably very difficult to read, especially as there is a dyslexic main character in this one. I'm hoping that there is like a dyslexic friendly one as well for people who do have that kind of dyslexia. For me, my dyslexia is more along the lines of like spelling, grammar, that kind of thing. But I am really liking how clever this is. I'm really liking all the characters, the changes in like font as well, the different bits of illustrations, like you see the books here and things like this. I'm finding all of that really good fun. I'm not gonna lie, it is several months later after I read Pages & Co, but I'm finally getting around to finally reading Inkheart. This one is the second book, obviously, that I'm reading for this reading vlog, and this one is following Meggie and her father. Meggie loves stories, but her father hasn't read aloud to her since her mother mysteriously disappeared. And then when a stranger knocks at their door, they're forced to reveal, like her father is forced to reveal an extraordinary secret. When he reads aloud, words come alive and dangerous characters step out of the pages, and suddenly they're put into this massive great big adventure and all the rest of it. I've been curious about this book since 2008, and obviously this is all about book magic and reading people out of books and everything else, so it's perfect for this reading vlog. So I'm gonna get a start on it and tell you what I think about it as I read it. So yeah, excited to bring you all along with me because I loved Pages & Co so much, so I'm so excited to see what I think about this one, if it lives up to Pages & Co, if it's got a similar sort of magic system, all of that good stuff, and just to see more book magic. So I'm going to get going with it and tell you what I think about it as I read. I'm only a chapter in and I am loving this so far. Also, can we just appreciate like the little illustrations here? I love the little book illustrations as well, but I love like the sign on the door that her father's got that says some books should be tasted, some devoured, but only a few should be chewed and digested thoroughly. I love that. I love how she describes like books as well. I think it's really, really fun and like really like it just describes the magic of books so well and things like this. I'm also loving like general quotes in this because they're talking about how like the pages rustle when Meggie opens her books, and it says Meggie thought this first whisper sounded a little different from one book to another, depending on whether or not she already knew the story it was going to tell her. And it's like, I love that. I love that it's sort of talking about things like this, and it's just so like, I guess you could say reverent for books and things like this. I'm loving all of those descriptions, and also the fact that there's a quote at the beginning of each chapter and things like this. I'm already really interested because Dustfinger's just turned up and things like this, and Maggie's like, I don't understand what's going on, and her father's trying to say like, obviously, like to stay out of it, things like this. But I mean, first impressions on the first like 10 pages, brilliant. Really enjoying this. Definitely can see myself really liking this, but we shall see as we go along. But at the moment, really good start. I feel like I'm just going to be quoting this book to you during this vlog, but I love this quote. It says, if you take a book with you on a journey, Mo had said when he put the first one in a box, an odd thing happens. The book begins collecting your memories, and forever after you have only to open that book to be back where you first read it. It will all come into your mind with the very first words, the sights you saw in that place, what it smelled like, the ice cream you ate while you were reading it. Yes, books are like flypapers. Memories cling to the printed page better than anything else. And I'm just like, this is gorgeous. That's all I've got. This is absolutely gorgeous. I'm loving like all of the quotes about like reading and everything else, and obviously the mystery that's coming in as to who like Dustfinger is and like what's going on and that kind of thing. But also just the quotes about reading are just absolutely gorgeous. I'm so glad I started reading this, and also regretting that I never read it earlier. So every single chapter in this book starts with a quote, and this one, chapter 10, The Lion's Den, opens with a quote from William Goldman in The Princess Bride. And that quote specifically says, "Look, grown-ups, skip this paragraph. I'm not about to tell you this book has a tragic ending. I already said in the very first line how it was my favourite in all the world, but there's a lot of bad stuff coming." And what I love is A, that's a Princess Bride quote, and that's definitely a hint that I definitely need to read that this year, and I'm rapidly running out of years, so I definitely need to get to that soon. Also, what I love is that each quote sort of represents what's going to happen in that specific chapter, and that's one of my favourite things in books, is when they start with a quote and it somehow relates to that specific chapter. I just love that, and I don't know why. I don't know, it just really works for me in some way, and I just really enjoy it when that happens. And this has definitely got to have double bonus points because it's The Princess Bride in this specific chapter, and I love that movie, and I'm going to be retrying the book hopefully in December. Fingers crossed, we'll see what happens, but I do love the fact that that actually quoted The Princess Bride in here. Love that. In some ways, I'm wishing I hadn't watched the movie to this recently, like before I picked the book up, because I hadn't watched the film in a very, very, very long time until I watched it recently this year. And now I can remember stuff from the movie, which is obviously coming from the book, because obviously the movie is based on the book. So I remember that Dustfinger is like working with Capricorn to try and get back into the book and like get back to his family, that kind of thing. I know that Maggie's mother is probably the woman who was cutting Capricorn's toenails, which is disgusting, by the way. Things like this, so I remember things quite clearly, and obviously it could go another direction, obviously. But I think that's what's happening because of what happened in the movie, and I kind of wish I didn't remember these things so I could go into this one going, wait, is Dustfinger good or is he evil? What's he doing? Things like this, but I'm still really, really loving this though. I'm on page 138 and I do really love all of the characters in this. And even though I do have a feeling I know where some of these plot twists are going, I'm still really enjoying this because even though I know where the plot twists are probably going to come in, it's still a really enjoyable story at the moment. So yeah, I'm like this far in. I've got a lot left to go, but I'm still really, really enjoying this. I've got another 400 pages to go. 405 pages, so that's a lot of reading I've got to do, but I am really enjoying this. Really, I'm loving this so far. It sounds like the magic system in this is very, very similar to Tilly in the Book Wanderers, only with Tilly she can physically go into the book at will and come back out again at will, and she can also like read people out of books and they sort of like just talk to her and things like this, and then they go back in again. Whereas in this there seems to be no sort of control over it whatsoever, and like, it seems like the characters who are reading people out of books can't physically go into them. So it's sort of similar in that sense of being able to, like, talk to characters from books and, like, read people into books and things like this, but you can't, A, change what happens in the book, and B, you also can't, like, go into it yourself, and that's basically the only sort of differences there. But I really, really like this magic system. I really like this idea of not being able to control it and things like this. I do love the fact as well that we got more from, like, the background of Dustfinger and how it all happened. I still really like Dustfinger, even though he is a bit of a betrayer in this. I still think he's a great character, probably because he's played by Paul Bettany. But there we go, I do love Paul Bettany as an actor, so I'm always going to be biased towards his characters. But I really like Dustfinger, probably because I know why he's trying to get back into the book and things like this, because he's got his family to think about. I do want to know more about Capricorn though, so I'm hoping we're going to find out more about Capricorn as we go along, because obviously Mo is being very, very evasive about Capricorn and Basta and things like this. But I now really want to read the book Inkheart itself, as in the book inside this book. Really want to read that. But also, I just want to quickly mention as well all the literary references throughout here. So you've got references to like Tiny Shoes, you've also got the one with the giant, and there's little references like this the whole way through, even when we're not talking about the different quotes at the beginning of each chapter as well. We actually get like book references. They're never actually said what book it actually is, but it's pretty obvious, and I really like that as well. I love bookish references inside books about books. It's sort of bookception, and I really like that. I'm still really, really enjoying this book, but one thing is starting to bug me just a little bit, and that is how Farid is treated, or Farid. I apologise right now if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but he's treated quite badly by Dustfinger, who's basically like trying to teach him how to sort of do those fire tricks, but at the same time he's being very, very sort of short with him, and he's really impatient with him, and sort of just getting him to sort of like be sort of like a servant to him, in the sense that he's the one like carrying all the bags and packing the bags in the first place and things like this. And I'm just a bit like, that's not good, especially considering this is the only character of colour that I can like see at the moment, and he's being treated badly, and I'm just a bit like, that's not the best. Now obviously this was originally published in 2003, so it could just be a product at the time, but that bit's a little bit iffy to me, shall we say, because I'm just a bit like, why are we doing this? Why is this necessary? surely Dustfinger could have been a little bit nicer to him, that kind of thing, and not having this character become a willing, sort of happy, sort of servant kind of thing, because that's just sort of smacking me the wrong way at the moment. That's what I'm getting at. It's just, it's not quite right in my brain, is what I'm saying. It's slightly feeling a bit like racism. Now, this could just be because this was written in 2003, I don't know, but I'm just a little bit iffy on that. Everything else, though, I'm still really enjoying. I loved all of the, like, escape from Capricorn's place, and them trying to get up the hills and trying to get away from Basta and Flatnose, things like this. I would have liked to seen more of the snakes, because we were just told that there were snakes around, but then we didn't really get any sort of scenes where anybody sees a snake. The only thing you hear is when one of them just gets sort of like thrown out of the way, and that is it. You don't really get anything more from there, so I would have liked to have seen the snakes instead of just being told that there were snakes. I would have liked to see that, but I'm still really enjoying this, and we're about to get to Fengolio, who is the author of Inkheart, so the characters are going to find him, and I'm very excited to see that. And I also, like, I think in the film it turns out that Dustfinger really wants to get home, not just because it's his home, but also because he's got a family there, and he hasn't mentioned that yet, but I'm pretty sure that's why he wants to go home so badly, apart from it being his home. So I'm wondering why he hasn't actually mentioned that yet, but also the fact that he doesn't know how his story ends. And I think it's because he dies at the end of the Inkheart book. I don't know, like in the actual book within this book, I can't remember. But either way, I'm having that little bit of problem there. There was also a little bit of fat phobia as well in terms of Eleanor, because Capricorn was constantly saying that she was fat and things like this, and it was like, that was completely and utterly unnecessary. So yeah, there's a couple of problems, but I'm still really enjoying most of this. It was just those couple of problems that I wanted to highlight now, and just say that I think I remember some bits still from the movie, but I don't know if it's going to be stuff that was changed for the movie or if it's actually in the book or what. So we'll see. Either way, still really enjoying this. I just have those problems, like I said, that I wanted to highlight. I feel so sorry for Dustfinger, because all he wants to do is go home. He's finally met his creator and finally knows what happens to him, and he knows he dies, and it's like, the poor sod just wants to go home and live happily ever after, and he's not getting that, and it just makes me feel really sorry for him. But I still, like, I just want to hug him. It's what I keep on coming up with. I still want to hug him. And I also really like all the chapters when Fengolio, I think when he's disappeared and he's just pacing and chewing his pencil, I think probably he's writing a different ending for Inkheart, which will be quite an interesting one, probably where Capricorn and Basta and the rest of them die, and then Dustfinger lives, hopefully, because I'd really like that. But in general, I think I'd like to know more about the book Inkheart itself, because at the moment we just know about Dustfinger and the villains, but we don't know what the storyline is or anything else. So I would like a little bit more information as to who the hero of that story is and what exactly the story is about, because we just know the characters who have been pulled out of the book and we don't know much else. But basically, in general, I really feel sorry for Dustfinger and actually Eleanor, because all of her books have been burnt. That was very cruel, to say the least, and it just made me go, hearing that, because obviously the idea of burning books is not something I want to think about, and obviously as a book lover that is a very, very horrible thing to think about. So that made me feel quite sorry for her, but at the same time I'm very, very glad that her and Mo are not in the village when Basta comes to take Fengolio and Meggie, because obviously that could end badly. Obviously they are going to end up finding out what's happened and going and trying to save them and things like this. I'm remembering parts of this from the film. Again, like I keep on saying, I do remember parts of the film. It seems that they have reordered a few bits, but generally it's sticking quite well to the book at the moment, or from what I remember. I'm going to have to rewatch the film after I finish reading this, but yeah, I am still really enjoying it. I feel sorry for quite a few characters, but at the same time I've now officially hit over halfway, so I've got this much left to read. I'm on page 314, and there is, when I can get to the right bit, 543 pages, so I've only got 230 pages left, so it's just this bit that I've got to read. So I'm making good progress now. I didn't think I was making that much progress, but I am, and I'm definitely really enjoying this one. I think my enjoyment's going down slightly, just that tiny bit, probably because I'm reading this in such dribs and drabs, and if I was reading this in like a more sort of one go, if I was reading this like more often and managing to read it more than like 50 pages at a time, I'd definitely be enjoying this more. But this still is a really good read and I am enjoying it a lot. But I do feel sorry for quite a few characters, and burning books is rude. That's what I've got at the moment. I feel sorry for a lot of characters and I want to hug them, and also burning books is incredibly rude. So Capricorn's mother is running around. I didn't expect to see his mother. I don't think she was in the movie, so that was a bit of a sort of thing that came out left field for me. So very interested to know that his mother is here, and also to get more of his like backstory and things like this when Fengolio is explaining it. So that was really fun, really interesting. Also, Dustfinger at least suspects that one of the maids is Maggie's mother, and obviously it's going to turn out she is because she looks like her, all the rest of it, and obviously I've seen the movie so I know where this is going. But the fact that he hasn't said anything, it's like, dude, I like you, but at the very least, at least attempt to say something so like everybody else is reassured here, or can try and save her or something. Like, I like Dustfinger, but he is very self-centered at times and very morally grey at points as well. He's mainly looking out for himself, but I do still like him. But I'm still like, dude, at least say something so like Maggie and everybody can know that her mother is alive and actually there. I knew that Maggie's mum was going to be one of the maids. I just knew it, but I'm kind of hoping that there's not going to be a love triangle between Dustfinger, Maggie's mum, and also Mo. I nearly called him Silvertongue, but same person. I really hope that there's not going to be a love triangle, because that will ruin this for me. But fingers crossed at the very least. I mean, obviously she'll just go for Mo again, but I still don't want that angst. I do not want that angst whatsoever. So I kind of raced ahead and finished the entire book, but there we go. I did really enjoy Inkheart in a lot of places. I really like this idea of like reading people out of books, and then this kind of idea that you can't read them back in again, or possibly you can, but the main characters like Maggie and Mo don't know how to do that. I really love the themes of family in this as well. I really liked all of the characters. I will say that I did want to see more from like Capricorn and Basta, and seeing more of like why they were evil in a lot of places, because it felt like we were being told they were evil quite a lot, and I would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit more of that. I also would have liked to have seen a bit more of Inkheart, as in the book inside this book, where these characters have come from, because I feel like we knew a lot about Capricorn and obviously Dustfinger, but we didn't know much about the actual story of Inkheart in that sense, and I would have liked to have seen a bit more of that. Maybe it will come about in like a future book in this series, I don't know, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more there. But overall, I really liked the book magic of this. I really liked the storyline of it, and I think I'm going to give it 4 stars, maybe 3.5. I'll have to run it through CawPile. Either way, it will be about 3.5 to 4 stars. As for what I think about books with book magic, I actually really like books with book magic, and like reading people out of books, this whole concept, and just reading books from authors who clearly love books and writing sort of love letters to books and reading and the written word and things like this. I really like that. I feel like it's very relatable, and obviously because I'm obviously a big fan of books, hence why this YouTube channel exists and everything else, but I really like that concept. I definitely want to read more books from this kind of genre where there is book magic of some description. I would love to read more of those. I'm definitely going to be continuing on with the Inkheart series and the Tilly and the Book Wanderer series without doubt, because I enjoyed them both so much. But if you have any other recommendations for books with this kind of magic, please leave the recommendations down below so I can check them out, because I would love to. As for which book I enjoyed more, I think I'm going to say I enjoyed Tilly and the Book Wanderers a bit more, probably just because I could read it a bit quicker. Obviously I've been reading this while doing NaNoWriMo, so this has taken me a lot longer than it should have done compared to obviously Tilly, and obviously this is bigger, so maybe that caused a little bit less enjoyment for me. But I think Tilly was done just maybe that little bit better, but that is not to say that I didn't enjoy Inkheart, because I definitely did. I just think Tilly maybe had the edge on it just a little bit, but I did really enjoy both of these books so much, and I will definitely be continuing on, like I said, with both of these series, and definitely trying to find more books with book magic in them. And that is actually where I'm going to leave this vlog here, because I don't think there's much else to say. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me any of your recommendations for book magic books. I would love to read more of these, and if you've got any recommendations, I will really appreciate you putting them down below. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a book related emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all of my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, which is going to be filled obviously with everything to do with Marvel and all of that good stuff. So if you want to check that out, it'll all be linked down below, as well as to my Etsy and Redbubble store, which sells bookish merch if you're interested in that. Or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!